What's going on, guys? It's PokePond back with another video for you. We've got a lot to talk about today. We've got new releases, Black Bolt, White Flare. I'll give you my views on what I think I'm going to do investment wise with them. We're seeing some crazy price rises across some of our mainline sets. Destined Rivals, Evolving Skies is starting to take off again. Make sure you don't miss this one. It's action-packed. We're doing a massive analysis. We got so many tabs open. I can't wait to get into it. Make sure you subscribe down below to never miss an opportunity. Let's get into it. Okay, you know it's going to be a good episode when I've got this many tabs open. We're doing a full analysis today, as we do every single week, to tell you everything that's going on in the sealed market and my recommendations going forward on where I think prices are going to go. We could talk today about some exciting news. We've got a new set out, which is the Black Bolt and White Flare. It is a holiday set, so there is no booster boxes, as many of you are aware. The Elite Trainer boxes have dropped, and I think overall the launch has gone fairly well. We're going to have a quick look at Black Bolt on TCG Player. Last sales, $87. We really can't read into the pricing too much at the moment. Me personally, I'm not really buying into this set unless I see it for retail. I probably will in the future, but me personally, I just need to see a little bit more data about how the market receives it as a set. Once things have settled down, about 8 to 10 weeks time, then we can really look at the data and start to see where prices have settled down a little bit. Have a look at the singles prices as well, and just see and start to make a plan then when our entry point is going to be into this set. Me personally, I don't think it's an amazing set. I think it's being carried quite hard by the state of the market at the moment, but time will tell. Like I said, let's not trade emotionally. Me, I'm quite happy to wait unless I see it for retail. If you see it for retail, I think it's an instant cop. Especially with the state of the market, I think that it's fine to buy in for retail. But for these over retail prices, like $90 for an ETB, personally, I'm just waiting and holding off for a little bit. White Flare, similar sort of story. Selling for a little bit more, actually. Last sale at $100. I think that's a little bit too pricey, with some other sales around 93, 94, but time will tell. If we're having a look at the set, obviously the main chase card appears to be the Zekrom EX SIR. I presume that's going to be the main chase card of the set. I think it's a decent card. I'm not sure whether there's too much bias on Zekrom from those that were more involved with that generation of Pokemon. It seems to me that the best performing sets over time in sealed are carried by a Gen 1 or Gen 2 chase card, generally, just because it resonates with more fans in the hobby. You know, just off the top of my head, you know, the Lugia from Silver Tempest, the Charizard from Brilliant Stars, the Umbreon from Evolving Skies, the Gengar and the Espeon from Fusion Strike. Do you see where I'm going with this? Like, I know a lot of people like Zekrom, and if that era of Pokemon was when you were really into it and you were playing the games and stuff, I do think you can get a little bit more biased into thinking, oh, well, everyone loves Zekrom. Personally, he doesn't relate to me that much. I wasn't really involved in Pokemon that much when that generation was big. Obviously, I know who he is, but for me, I'm more likely to buy into sets Gen 1, Gen 2, and there are a huge amount of people in the hobby that are in that similar position to me. So it's just something to bear in mind. I'm not saying the set won't do well. I'm not saying Zekrom can't carry it as a high value chase card. I just need to see a little bit more data first, and I'm going in more cautiously into Black and White. I did manage to get some pre-orders for the booster bundles. I missed out on the Elite Trainer boxes. If I could have got them, I would. I did try and queue up, but unfortunately I had those unfortunate events where you start getting error codes on Pokemon Center, and then by the time I resolved them, they were gone. So I managed to get the booster bundles, but they are not out yet because it's a holiday set. They're delaying the release of the booster bundles until I think middle to end of August next month. They're about 4 weeks out. So I think that's going to lower down the pack to cost ratio quite a bit, and that's going to severely bring down the singles prices in about a month's time. But we'll be tracking all of that on the channel for you. It's just nice to be able to start looking at a new set. Let's talk then about last sales in the US. $80. Again, I don't think that's a terrible buy, but we're talking about, what's that, $15 or something over retail? Is it? I forget what retail is for a US Elite Trainer box. And that's not that much over retail, to be honest, but it just depends. I think it's too early to be buying in at that kind of price point for me personally. Last sale in the UK is £100 all in for the Pokemon Center version, and for the normal version is 68 all in, like 72, which is 72 retail is 55, so we're at like what, 15, 16, 17 over retail. Let's just calculate that out. 17 divided by 55, 30% over retail. If you're new to the channel, then I compare both US and UK markets, so it doesn't matter where you are in the world. Hopefully there is something for you on this channel. We tend to just look at global markets as a whole, as it can help us predict what's going to go on with the other. A lot of Pokemon YouTubers and investors say that our markets aren't linked, but I would beg to differ. I think that quite often we can see trends playing out here in the EU, and then it happens in the US and vice versa. Let's have a look at White Flare then, last sold in the US for $80. What's really interesting about the US eBay market here for White Flare is it took a lot of scrolling to find one just being sold on its own. Everyone is selling them as a pair, which I thought is really interesting. I mean, it makes sense. If you bought them from Pokemon Center, you probably bought both of them. A lot of people are flipping and just scalping out the Pokemon Center exclusives and just selling them instantly for a profit. But yeah, look at this. So $80 for a single White Flare. Look how much I had to scroll through to find that just by searching for White Flare Elite Trainer box. Look at this. Look how many I had to scroll through to just find one single one sold on its own. Look, these are all doubles selling. Most of them Pokemon Center exclusives. Actually, yeah, Pokemon Center exclusive, so that's not one either. To just find a normal one being sold on its own for a decent price, look how many auctions I had to scroll through, and I'm sorted by sold last. That one technically is, but that's international arbitrage. That's from the UK, selling it from across the pond. I'm just focusing when I'm looking at US markets on US to US sales. Same with the UK. I'm not looking at EU imports. I'm looking at UK to UK, just to give you an idea of what's really going on in the market for last sold. Because personally, I wouldn't import. Unless I'm buying something really exclusive from Japan and I'm buying it direct from Japan, I personally wouldn't buy sealed product from another country. That's just my personal take on it. It's not something that I would do. Yeah, we had to scroll through a lot to find the White Flare. It does look, interestingly, like White Flare is selling for more of a premium than Black Bolt. We'll see whether that continues or not. It's really too early to tell, but I just wanted to take a real early look at Black Bolt and White Flare since it just came out yesterday, I believe, was its release. Let's talk about Destined Rivals then, one of my favourite sets of the Scarlet and Violet era, one of the heaviest hyped up sets of the era as well. Again, like I'm talking about that big heavy Gen 1 chase card as well. Everyone in the Pokemon hobby relates to Mewtwo. And we're seeing prices rise this week. Interesting, very interesting. Quite a sharp rise up in price as well. Last week we averaged on TCG Play at $256. This week we are currently looking at $283 as around the average. Lots of sales around the 280. One sale for $319. That's the highest we've ever seen Destined Rivals sell for. Very interesting. that's sold, and that is from today as well. We're seeing lots of sales activity from today as well. So 283 on the average for today. Last week 256. So that's quite a jump up in price. What is that? 256 to 283 is $27. 27 to 256. Let's calculate this out. 27 to 256. 10% price rise on Destined Rivals over the last 7 days. That is very, very interesting. I've been very vocal on the channel that I bought in and bought 6 boxes, assembled my own case by buying singles because I didn't want to pay the premium for a case. I averaged a price point of around about £189, which is well below market at the moment, and I was buying in at around about this price point here. People said I was mad and I had to wait because it's definitely coming down to MSRP apparently. It's amazing how many people are convinced that Destined Rivals will eventually be selling for MSRP. I really don't think it's ever going to happen, and we're starting to see a big spike up in price now. Will it continue? I don't know. But I'm happy that I bought in at this price point around here because I did have a sneaking suspicion that it was going to rise up in price. So 10% price rise up on Destined Rivals, the highest it's been for quite a while. Like I said, that one outlier sale for $319 is kind of crazy as well. Let's have a look at eBay. Last sold on eBay, look at this, guys, $275. Instantly bought out on a buy it now as well because it's still showing its new listing tag. Very interesting to see Destined Rivals start to pull ahead now in price. I do think we're going to see some serious run up in price on Destined Rivals over its next 2 years. And when I talk about 2 years, I'm not talking about waiting until it's out of print window. I'm talking about during the time that it's in print. I think we're going to see it run up in price to some serious numbers, particularly in about 12 months' time. I think that people are really going to start FOMOing into Destined Rivals, especially when we start to see then a move on to the next era, and we're going to see Gen 10 released, we're going to see new base set, we're going to see new set 1, set 2 of the new era. I think once those are out, we're really going to see a lot of investment money and a lot of money FOMO into Destined Rivals. That's why I made quite a controversial video 2 nights ago. If you guys haven't seen it, I got a lot of mixed feedback on that. I'm going to address some of that now very quickly for you. The purpose of that video was not to convince anyone to sell their Pokemon product. It was to just be super transparent about moves that I'm making right now. I want to foster a community in the comments where people aren't afraid to speak out and say things like, hey, you know, that's not a play I would have made, but good luck to you, or thank you for being transparent about the plays you're making. That was the purpose of the video, to tell you guys about a bit of a crazy play that I was making. I'm restructuring and selling some of my early sealed Scarlet and Violet boxes. It's not that I don't think they'll do well, I just want to make a bigger position into Prismatic, 151 and Destined Rivals. And that's all it was about, just showing you my play. Whether you agree with it or not, it really doesn't matter. I was just putting it out there for the people that are interested in the plays that I'm making. So here we go, Destined Rivals, $275. That's the highest I've seen it go for a good while. And look at this in the UK. Instantly bought out for $260 plus postage, $264 all in. A new listing tag, bought out straight away. These were like top of the market, absolute top of the market. A couple of weeks ago when I was buying into these was $212 was what I was paying. Now it's at $260, and $212 even felt expensive to me. So what's that? $212 to $260, 48. So 48 on $212. That's a 22% price rise here in the UK. And it's not even like it was sitting. That was bought out instantly as well. 22% price rise in, I would say, about 3 weeks. Kind of crazy. Honestly, do not sleep on Destined Rivals. I think it's still a great time to buy into this. Yes, I know people are like, yeah, but it's in print window for 2 years. Has that stopped these other Scarlet and Violet sets that I think are actually weaker? Has that stopped Surging Sparks selling for way over retail and holding for way over retail? Prismatic, 151. Those are all in print still. Paldea Evolved still in print. And they are selling for way over retail. Destined Rivals is one of the best sets of Scarlet and Violet, in my opinion. It's up there as top 3 set, probably even higher than that. It might even perform as the best set. Once it gets up there in age and it's been out there for the same amount of time that Paldea Evolved has been out, I think its price point will be far higher than where Paldea Evolved is right now. And Paldea Evolved is currently the most expensive Scarlet and Violet booster box out there. I think that people are really sleeping on Destined Rivals, and that's why I have such a large position behind me. These are all Destined Rivals booster boxes. I've got more in the back as well. I currently own 6. I assembled my own little case of them. For me, if I had more money and more disposable income, I would definitely buy more of them. But for me, it doesn't make sense to buy more of them now. I don't want to miss other opportunities into other things. Like I said, I'm building up a strong position in 151 and Prismatic Evolutions at the moment. Again, let me just talk about Prismatic Evolutions. A lot of people aren't understanding why I'm buying into Prismatic Evolutions now, because they're like, oh yeah, but it's at such a high price point, you're better off going into 151 because it's a similar price point for the booster bundle, but 151's much older. Yeah, but let's have a look at the singles prices. Okay, singles prices, big chase card for 151, Charizard, $200 raw. Okay, let's have a look at Prismatic Evolutions. Nearly every single one of the top 8 cards in Prismatic Evolutions are over $200 or at $200. And then you've got the Sumbreon, which is just in a league of its own. That's why Prismatic Evolutions booster bundles are the same price as 151, even though 151's nearly out of print and Prismatic isn't. Okay, now I know a lot of people are saying to me, oh yeah, but it's in print for another 2 years, you'll get much better opportunity to buy into it for a cheaper price. Great, I welcome it to come down in price because I'm just going to buy more of it and lower my cost of entry. Okay, when I say I'm building a position in Prismatic now, that means I'm going to be continually buying it for the next 2 years. If it drops down in price, that's a positive thing, not a negative thing. And I think that a lot of people in the hobby are new to the hobby. They've been here for less than a year, so all they've known is hype cycle, and that's part of the problem. I think those are the vocal people and the trolls. Full transparency as well, just a quick disclaimer. I welcome constructive criticism in my comments, talking about, you know, like I said, a perfect comment is, hey, I don't agree with this because of this reason. I think it's going to do this instead. That's great. I welcome kind of comments like that. I like that kind of discussion. If you're just going to come into the comments and troll because you don't understand my viewpoint or you don't agree with it, you will just get shadow banned straight away. Okay, my comment section is a nice, friendly place. Where we welcome constructive discussion. We do not tolerate trolls. Okay, you get shadow banned straight away. You won't even know you're banned. It will look like you're still commenting on videos. No one sees them. Okay, I've had to shadow ban a lot of people after that last video. Let's talk about Prismatic Evolutions then. Prismatic Evolutions, like I said, I'm building a position into it now and will continue to buy into it over the next 2 years. I really don't think that reprints are going to massively affect it. I know that there is a lot of talk about reprints of Prismatic Evolutions and Costco is going to keep churning them out. I welcome that. Please do, because I will just buy more and more and more of it. And there's a lot of people in the hobby that will. The reason why Prismatic Evolutions Elite Trainer boxes will not drop below $100 at the moment is because there's so many people like me in the market that as soon as we see anything at $100 or below, we buy it out. And that's just going to stop it from ever dipping down, because there's a lot of people in this hobby with deep pockets. And I'm not saying I've got the deepest pockets, but I tell you what, if I see Prismatic Evolutions for around about that $100 mark, I'm liquidating. I'm selling other stuff. I'm buying into it heavy because I believe in it as a set going forward long term. Let's have a look at prices then. We called it here. We called it here in June that this was the bottom of the market, at least for a little while, and it did seem to hold out. Just anything around $100 just seems like a bargain, and it will get bought out by the hobby, by us investors, by us seal collectors, even by people that want to rip it. They're like, oh, the Elite Trainer box is only $100. That's not a bad deal. And it gets bought out and it bounces back up. It's been holding here around about this $110 range, between 110 and 115. You've seen last sales here too for 114. I think that's a decent price point to buy into the Elite Trainer box and hold a position for a long amount of time. Okay, yes, it might drop down back down to the $100 range, but it's not going to stay there for long, in my opinion. Those reprints will get bought out, and before you know it, that print window will be used up. I know people are saying like, oh yeah, but it's going to be in print for another 2 years, another year and a half. Time goes by fast in this hobby. It really, really does. Before you know it, Prismatic Evolutions will be out of print, and I guarantee you'll be kicking yourself for not buying into more of these for 110 an Elite Trainer box. Sorry. Last sale in the US. Look at this, $100 all in, 107 all in. New listing, buy it out now. So look, 7% swing between two sales. Someone putting it up for 107, bought out straight away. New listing tag. Someone dumped it for 100, new listing tag. That looks to me like a flip, that one. Look, guy didn't even get it home. Guy picked it up for retail. He's still in his car. He hasn't even got it home. He hasn't even started up his engine yet, and he's already posted it on eBay for 100 quid. And look, it's sold before he's probably even got home for 100. Because this is what I'm talking about, guys. Anything $100, people are going to buy it out straight away. And that's why I'm confident it won't drop below that. Potentially, it might temporarily drop below that if they drop like pallets and pallets and pallets of it week on week on week for like months at Costco. Then you might see an $80 box or a $90 box. But I don't see it happening personally. I honestly think that $100 is the floor for Prismatic ETBs. And even if you do see a $90 one in the future, it's not going to hold. You put that away for a year, is it still going to be $90 in a year after that? No, not even close. Not even close. It's just easy to make these plays, okay? People are too obsessed with trying to time the market. People are so obsessed with thinking, oh, I'm not going to buy into Prismatic until it's nearly out of print. I guarantee if you wait another 2 years to buy Prismatic, it's going to be more than $100. I can guarantee that. I will bet any amount of money on that. I would bet a house on the fact that in 2 years' time, when it's going out of print, it's going to be more than $100. Way more than $100. And I think that's where a lot of people, especially new people in the hobby, don't understand what's going on. Last sale in the UK, 104 with a little bit of postage. It's been that price for a good while. Okay, it's been around about that £100 to £105 price for a good over a month, nearly 2 months. It's been that price. So holding at a decent price, good price to buy into, in my opinion. Don't know what's going on with this one. 89 quid. That is way below market. That's clearly just a dump. I personally don't think that's shipped for that price. I think that's, yeah, that's crazy. I don't think that actually sold for 90 quid. 99. Maybe someone just dumped it, to be honest. Maybe that's a quick flip. Someone just found one at retail and just quickly put it up for 90, not knowing what was going on with market, because they could have easily listed that for 100 and got that for 100. So yeah, deals to be had apparently out there in the market on Prismatic. I think anything around £100 or $110 is a good buy. Let's have a quick look at Pokemon Center US then. Everything out of stock. No surprise there, everything has been out of stock for a little while, but you have been seeing product slowly drip feed in. For example, Black Bolt, White Flare, booster bundles looks like a drip feed in, and Mega Evolutions. We can finally start talking about Mega Evolutions. We were lucky personally here in the UK, we managed to get pre-orders from Pokemon Center on everything. We pre-ordered a booster box, 2 PC ETBs, and yeah, booster bundles as well. So really, really happy with what we got there. It's too early to say anything about what's going to go on with pricing with Mega Evolutions. I think that it's got potential to do quite well though. More than happy to buy in at retail though. I think any product for retail right now in Scarlet and Violet era is an instant buy. You don't even really need to think about it. Yeah, I don't think you can lose buying anything for retail right now. Let's have a look at Pokemon Center UK then. Interestingly, we've got a restock back in again, Paradox Rift again, and Temporal Forces booster boxes. Not bad buys for retail price. This is actually below retail as well. Pokemon Center selling them for the old retail price of the Sword and Shield era, just because they can't shift these. This is the problem with only looking at the US markets. If you look at just the US markets, you'll see Paradox Rift and Temporal Forces selling for around the $210 to $230 range, way over retail. This is the problem with you only looking at the US markets, and the reason why you need to look at a channel like mine that's comparing everything and the global market, because we can buy it for below retail here in the EU, and we can quite easily just sell it to you on your eBay. And you can't compete with those prices. So you're already buying it in for way cheaper than we can get. And I'm telling you, there's no shortage of supply of these in the EU. We can buy as many of these as we want. We can pick these up for below retail. Retail here is 165, okay? And we can pick it up for 143. Let's just calculate that out. What is that? 165 minus 143, 22 quid below retail, divided by 165. We can still consistently in this market pick up Temporal Forces and Paradox Rift from source for 13% below retail. Okay, so be very cautious if you're buying into it in the US right now. Be very cautious. Let's talk about Journey Together then, and that's why you subscribe down below to never miss an opportunity. Got to put that in there. Oh, we've got a new catchphrase as well that we coined last week. If you hold the product, you hold the power. I like that one. I'm going to keep saying that. That came off the cusp in yesterday's, not yesterday's video, day before yesterday's video. If you haven't seen it, it's a bit of a wild video. It's quite controversial. So if you like seeing the kind of crazy plays that I'm making, then definitely go check that one out. Let's talk about Journey Together. Journey Together is currently going for $234 on TCG Player, which is kind of crazy to me. It means that it's pulling ahead as one of the more expensive Scarlet and Violet booster boxes. It is definitely in a dangerous reprint window, where it's so modern in that kind of latter block of Scarlet and Violet, where it's definitely prone to some big reprints. And I just don't think it's popular enough that if we saw big reprints, it wouldn't sit. I think that Journey Together is in a very dangerous spot of becoming one of the worst performing booster boxes of the Scarlet and Violet era if it's overprinted. Now, if it has normal print levels and it doesn't get massive reprints, I think it will do fine. The set in itself isn't terrible. Okay, I think there's much worse sets in Scarlet and Violet, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Okay, I don't think the set's bad. What I'm saying is I think it's more sensitive to reprints than other sets. I think that if we saw mass reprints of Journey Together, it would really negatively affect the price. Whereas if you compare that to something like Destined Rivals, I think if you saw the same kind of big reprints on Destined Rivals, I think that the price would come down much less than it would than if Journey Together saw those kind of levels. Just some food for thought there. Last sold in the US. Now this is interesting. Okay, there's deals to be had. If you're paying on TCG Player here, look, if you're paying $234, I think you're overpaying a little bit. On eBay, someone picked this up, new listing, bought it out straight away because they could identify it as a good bargain. Look at this. Sub $200 for an enhanced version of Journey Together with a hard acrylic case, which are about $20 to pick up anyway. So really, if you take the cost of the case off, okay, let's just be conservative, and we'll take $10 off for the acrylic case. They paid $190 for a sealed minty Journey Together with the enhanced version, with the box topper. That is a crazy deal. Whoever picked that up, say what you want about Journey Together, that is a really good deal. I hope that one of my viewers picked that up. That is a fantastic deal, whoever picked that up. Let's see what last sold was before that. Look, last sold before that, is that same day? That was 18th. Yeah, so same day, someone paid $224 and didn't get a case. So there are deals to be had on these sets, and it's all about just keeping an eye out on things. Okay, let's see. In the UK, last sales, enhanced version, 250 quid. I think you're overpaying for that price. I know it's the enhanced version, they're harder to get here in the EU, but I think you're overpaying at 250. Look at this normal version, £165. That is retail price. Okay, retail on Journey Together, like I said, it's a no-brainer. I think that if you're wanting to diversify your collection a little bit and get into more sets to insulate yourself a little bit more about fluctuations and changes in the market, I think that if you're buying Journey Together at retail and sitting on it for a good amount of time, you can't lose, really. That's not a bad buy. Let's talk about Surging Sparks. Surging Sparks, saw this, it dropped down early sort of June time to late June, about 4 weeks ago, to around about 215. I said at that time that when it's at 215, that makes it one of the cheapest boxes in Scarlet and Violet at the moment, and I don't think it should be. And we kind of called it. We're seeing that rebound up in price, and it's now pulling ahead more. Look at this last sale, $242. There's a couple of outliers here at 215, but look, multiple sales there at 240. Now, that average for Scarlet and Violet now, for sort of mid sets, is around about, bottom of the market is around about 210, with the slightly better sets going for like 220, 225. So for Surgeon to start pulling ahead now and be at around about that 240 range, I think is where it should be. Again, it's at that dangerous spot where it could get heavy reprints, but I don't think it is as sensitive as Journey Together to reprints, because I think that it's more of a fan favourite, and I think that when you start to see cheap Surgeon Sparks, the community will answer and will buy them out, because I think that it is a higher in-demand set to open. I think that people really enjoy opening Surging Sparks and enjoy the set as a whole. I think that long-term, it'll do quite well. I think it's going to be one of the top 3 sets of Scarlet and Violet going forward. So I think that it's a decent price point to buy into now. You may get it a little bit cheaper if it reprints over the next 6 to 12 months, but at that point, maybe we just buy more of it and lower your cost. I don't think that Surging Sparks is a bad price to buy into at the moment at around about that 240 range. It's starting to demonstrate that it is one of those top sets. Last sale in the US, $250. No surprise there. Look at this. The normal Elite Trainer box going for just shy of $100 now. I think that Surging Sparks will do well. Last sale in the UK, 250 quid. I think that's a little bit overpriced, if I'm honest, 250 quid. Because 250 quid is like, what is that in dollars? Let's just calculate it out. 250 GBP into USD. That's $335. Yeah, that's overpriced on the UK market right now. Whoever paid that 250, let's find where we're at with the tabs. Here we are. 250 quid is a little bit too expensive. I'd want to see Surgery Sparks 210. That's kind of where I would buy into it if I was going to buy any, especially where it's so sensitive to a reprint. Look, his market at 224. I don't think that's too bad. 220 as well, from 2 days ago. There you go. Market's at 220, so I think 250 is a bit much, whoever paid for that. Let's talk about 151. I've been quite transparent, especially in the last video, about increasing a position into 151, particularly booster bundles, because I think over here in the UK, the Elite Trainer boxes are a little bit too overpriced. You can see price rises here, though, in the US market. It's just continuing to climb up. Over the last 3 months, it's up 20%. People are really starting to FOMO into it now. $243 was the average last week, and this week it is $256 last sale. There's a sale for $261. So what's that? $256. It's up like $8 on average. 8 on 248. 8 divided by 248. Let's just calculate out the percentage. It's just something like a little 3% bump up, but it's just continuing to chug away. We're seeing a lot of price manipulation over here in the UK, and I'll get into that in a moment. 265 is the last sale in the US. Another sale here for 250. And then you've got like 2 Pokemon Center exclusives going for $1,000. Kind of crazy, some of the price points on the Pokemon Center exclusives. I've talked about this a little bit on the channel, but mainly in the comments to save myself having to make more comments. I personally do not invest in Pokemon Center Elite Trainer boxes. I have my reasonings behind that. For those people who do, great, that's fine. I'm not knocking your play. They have seen some massive price rises in the past. By all means, invest into it if you want. I'm not insulting your play. Me personally, I don't buy into PC ETBs unless it's for my own collection. I don't do it purely for an investment standpoint. The reason why is because they're more volatile in price. Like you're seeing with 151 PC ETBs, you've seen it shoot right up in price. Great for those people that are holding it, but it's also very volatile. Okay. If what goes up that fast can also come down that fast as well. If we see a massive downturn in the market, those will crash so quickly. Believe me, I've seen it. I've seen the market. I've also been stung a lot in the past with Elite Trainer boxes when we're talking about previous cycles, buying into hype cycles. Some that come to mind, Shining Fates, Darkness Ablaze, Vivid Voltage, Battle Styles are all Elite Trainer boxes that were selling for way over retail, and people were FOMOing into them. Me as well, I bought into them for way over retail, and now years later, 4 or 5 years later, they're worth less than what I paid for them 4 or 5 years ago. And that's just normal Elite Trainer boxes as well. There's been a lot of run up in price on PC ETBs, particularly because you're seeing the promos go up in price a lot. Me personally, I think that people are putting a lot of inflated artificial value on those stamped promos in PC ETBs. Me personally, so like, let's just look at the costing. Okay, so this is a fairly good deal compared to the price of some PC ETBs that I've seen recently for 151. So if we're taking, look, 2 for $1,000, okay, I know it's $1,050, but let's just say $1,000. So we'll make it easy, $500 each for a PC ETB. And then look, you're seeing one here sell for $240. So what you're telling me is that for more than double the price, you get 1 extra booster pack and 1 extra promo card, which looks exactly the same but has a stamp on it. Now, I know you're like, yeah, but it's more of a collector piece and it's more rare. I'm like, yeah, but that's because there's the demand there for it. But as soon as the demand stops for it, is it still worth double the price? Me personally, I think no. I know there's a lot of people out there that will disagree and will think PC ETBs are a great play. And I agree that they have been going up aggressively in price. That doesn't mean that that's always going to happen. And me, I just tread more carefully into that kind of thing. That's all I'm saying. So particularly if you're new to the hobby, just be cautious around PC ETBs. They are a play. A lot of people make a lot of money on them. Credit to them. Not my cup of tea personally. Last sold in the UK, 231. Here's where the price manipulation starts coming in, guys. Okay. So Some of you US viewers will find this interesting as well. 231 is the last sale for a 151 Elite Trainer box. The market over the last week or so is about that, 220 to 230. Okay, let's look at some other sales. Look, here's some more selling. 224, 245 at the most. One sold for here for 271, which is quite a bit over market considering they were regularly selling for 220. Right. Now, let's have a look at the price manipulation going on right here. Let's have a look at the cheapest you can buy, not the last sold. Bear in mind, we've established the market is around about 220. If we're being generous, 230, 240, that's really generous. Okay. Cheapest you can buy right now, 281. 40 quid. 50 quid. Between 40 and 60 quid over market is the cheapest you can buy it now, right now. Let's scroll down a little bit. Next one, 312. 90 quid over market. Another one, 312. 90 quid over market. 338. Okay. What even is that? 120 quid over market price right now. That's it. We have 4 for sale, way over market, and that's it. Okay. It is getting manipulated so hard here in the UK. There is no way I'm buying into 151 Elite Trainer boxes for 281, let alone 312, 338. Okay, that is it. We have 4 normal versions available, and then you jump to the PC. Everything more expensive, we then jump to 414, Pokemon Center exclusive. Everything else is Pokemon Center version, which is why you're getting the premium on top. But look, 4 for sale, way over market. Someone's making a move, and I caught them in 4D. 4D? 4K. Caught them in 4D as well. I'm attacking you in 4D, 4 dimensions of scalping, right? That's crazy. Don't fall for it, okay? Buy into the booster bundles if you want to buy into 151 and you're in the UK, or wait for prices to come down. Okay, don't get suckered into it. Look at this. Let's have a look at the bundles then, since we're talking about it. Last sold in the US, $66. I don't think that's bad. What's that? $11 a pack? Pretty decent. Like long term, I can see 151 easily over $20 a pack. Easily. Probably not much more over $20 a pack, but I could see it going to like $22, $23 a pack within a couple of years. So then that would put the booster bundle to around about that $130 range, $140 range. I say that with a bit of a smile on my face because my last video I called out that I see 151 booster bundles going to $140, and so many people in the comments said I was mad. But when you actually break that down, what is that pack to cost ratio? Look, 140 divided by 6. Are you telling me that a 151 pack is never going to go for $23 within a couple of years? I think that's quite a bold statement to make. I can see it getting up there in price. I really can, especially with how the market's going. Last sale in the UK, 57 all in, 58, 59, basically 60 quid. 60 quid all in. Don't think that's a bad price point to buy into it. You can see my shelf is full of some 151 booster bundles because they're a good price. I think that is one of the best buys you can make at the moment. That's one of the reasons why I'm selling off some of my other sealed product to buy more 151 bundles and prismatic bundles. Let's talk about Paldea Evolved then. Like I was saying in the last video, I'm selling off a lot of my Paldea Evolved at the moment because I'm taking profit to restructure it into a 151 and prismatic. A lot of people disagree with that play. Honestly, it doesn't matter whether you disagree with my play or not. I'm just being transparent for the people that want to see it. People say I'm mad to sell Paldea Evolved. Let me say one thing and then I'll stop addressing all the haters in the comments. Paldea Evolved I've more than 2x my money on. Okay, so when you're looking at moving it into something like 151, if 151 is £60 and I'm selling my Paldea Evolved to buy into it and I've 2x my money, The actual money that's come out of my pocket to buy a 151 bundle is £30. Because I paid £30 worth of value into Paldea Evolved. That flipped up into a 60. 151 bundles are now 60. So what did I really pay out of money? I paid time in the market, and I paid actual real money, £30, half the price. Same with Prismatic. People are saying Prismatic bundles, oh yeah, they're same price as 151 bundles, they're massively overpriced. Yeah, but look at the value you can pull out of the cards. And again, 60, 70 bucks for a Prismatic Evolutions booster bundle. If I'm only actually paying half the money because I've already 2x my money, I'm buying that for 30 bucks. Who here on the channel wouldn't buy a Prismatic bundle for 30 bucks? I think you all would. So sometimes it's about perspective, and I think that a lot of people struggle with that. Anyway, I'll stop addressing the haters, because to be honest, a lot of those haters have been shadow banned anyway. It's a very controversial video. If you haven't seen it, go back and check it out. It's from 2 days ago on my channel. Paldea Evolved, let's look at prices then. Paldea Evolved has had a flat week. Last week we were looking at 370 bucks. Last sold 380, but then we're also seeing sales around about the 373, 375. At most, it's up like 1-2%. That's normal with like fluctuations and swings in the market. Essentially, it's had a flat week. But after its recent run up in price, I think that that is quite normal and quite acceptable. Do I think that Paldea Evolved will continue to rise up in price? I do. I do think it will continue to rise up in price, and that's why a lot of people don't understand the play that I'm making. I just want to make a bigger position into Prismatic and 151. That's all. Let's have a look then at last sold in the US, $335, and last sold in the UK is $297. £297. Sorry, that's actually quite a bit cheaper. They were going for around about 310 last week. I did notice after I put up my video 2 days ago saying that I was selling my Paldea Evolved that the UK market started flooding with booster boxes, and the price came down a little bit. So if you disagree with my play and you want to buy into Paldea, a lot of people are dumping right now because I told them to in the last video. Well, I didn't tell them to, I just said that I was doing it. And I noticed about 10 people listed up their Paldea Evolved after that. So the price dropped from around about 310 to what you're seeing here now, around about 297 over the last 2 days, purely because I said that I was dumping mine as well. Literally within like an hour or two of the video going out. And it's funny because I talked to one of my friends in the hobby as well, who was watching the video, and she also said that I'm too convincing, and after my video she was looking at her sealed collection like, maybe I should sell something and buy into some more 151. So yeah, that wasn't the purpose of the video. I wasn't trying to convince people to sell their product or to, you know, manipulate the market at all. I was just telling people what play I was making, and if that opened up a play for them and they decided they want to make that play too, that's entirely on them. Let's have a look at Twilight Masquerade then. Twilight Masquerade, much like Paldea Evolved, has had a very flat week. No change in price really, so we won't worry about that too much. It is still continuing to rise up a decent amount over time, and I do think it's a good investment to buy into, particularly at this price point if you're willing to put it away for at least a couple of years. 285 last week, last sales around about that 280, 282. So potentially a downswing of like 1 to 2% max, but again, normal fluctuations in the market, we're not going to read too much into that. Last sale in the US is $219, about what I would expect with the market right now. I think that that is a decent price point to buy into. Last sale in the UK, £205, and you get an acrylic case in there, so what, we'll knock off £10 because it's a second-hand case. Be cautious though, new seller, no feedback. Does look like they're a Pokemon collector though. You can tell by sort of the background image that they've got some Pokemon merchandise. Just be very careful about buying from new sellers. I don't want to call out this seller too much, but it does make me a little bit uneasy when I see people with 0% feedback and they call themselves something like this person's name. I won't say it because I won't slander them, but they put like store or like TCG in their name, and it's like, you haven't even sold anything, and like you've just decided now because you're in a hype market, you're going to become a store or a TCG. And I'm not saying you can't, it just makes me feel a little bit uneasy when you see so many people like that. Credit to you. If you want to become an eBay store and a TCG store, good luck to you. It's a lot more hard work than I think a lot of people realise. And most people won't last, especially when the market downturns. And we're ready for that, okay? So we've lived through multiple hype cycles. I've been doing this more than 10 years. I've been making videos for nearly 2 years on showing all of my plays. And we've lived through multiple highs and lows of the market. We will eventually crash. We will see a market crash. The way I see it playing out is it's going to be when the new gen comes out, when the new sets and new eras come out. I think that you're going to see sub-retail and products sat around. Probably base set is going to be the first one to hit that. Not initially on release, but given a little bit of time. I don't think you're going to see much lower prices on Scarlet and Violet. Just because it will rotate out of play, and they'll stop printing more of it once they're focusing more on the new era, and that's generally how things have gone in the past. That's definitely how it went with when Scarlet and Violet came out. People really didn't like Scarlet and Violet right up until Twilight Masquerade came out. You were getting products sat for way below retail. Even on pre-order, you could pre-order for like 20-25% below retail on the first few Scarlet and Violet sets, because no one really was wanting it, and instead everyone was focusing still on Sword and Shield, the era that was leaving and sunsetting. Everyone was, you know, flipping and selling Silver Tempest and Brilliant Stars, and that's where the focus of the channel was when I started it. And no one wanted Scarlet and Violet when it first came out, and now we're seeing it sort of repeat again. Now everyone's obsessed with Scarlet and Violet, and I think that the new era will sit around for a little bit, and that's where you're going to see the crash. You're going to see the crash on the new product, the new ultra modern, and I think that everyone's just going to keep focusing on Scarlet and Violet because it's a good thing we've got going, and it will take time for people to move into the new era. And I think the new era will perform well, just like the other eras before it had. It's just going to take a little bit of time for people to adjust and start to buy into it, and it's going to be a great opportunity, I think, because I'm hoping that this new era will sit on shelves. We're going to start to see a bit after release it deals for below retail, and that's when we're going to buy in. We're going to take an early position into anything sub retail in the new era, and that's how you really beat the market. You buy the stuff that no one wants when no one wants it, with the expectation that they will want it in a year's time or 2 years' time. Anyway, I'm ranting on. It's going to be another over an hour episode. I already know it. This is such a meme on the channel. Oh my gosh. I just can't stop going off on tangents. Okay. I always plan to make shorter videos, but we've just accepted now the videos are just getting longer and longer as we've got more and more to talk about. Look how many tabs we've got open. We're only just over halfway through. We're going to start accelerating through these last tabs, and we're going to get into the juicy Sword and Shield era as well. Briefly talk about Temporal Forces. It's going up in price very slowly in the US just because there's no supply of it. Okay, it's a supply and demand market. If there's no temporal for retail, then it's going to increase in price. It's hovering at that range. Like I said, you know, most sort of mid boxes in the Scarlet and Violet era are around about that 220 mark. That's exactly where temporal is sitting. But like I said, be very careful because we've got even more restocks here in the EU for way below retail. Like I said, it was like, what, 140 something pound? Let's just calculate that out. 140 GBP into USD. So we can buy it for $187 from source, as many as we want. So be very careful paying more than that if you're in the US right now, because yeah, we'll have to eat fees if we're selling it overseas to you. But it's not that difficult to do international shipping on eBay. It's really not. And I think that that's going to be a more prominent thing in the future as well. You're going to see a lot more international trade. And that's why this channel's great. okay? Because if you were just watching one of these other Pokemon YouTubers or Pokemon investment people, they will sit and tell you, and they have been very vocal, that the UK and EU markets do not affect the US markets at all. That is an absolute lie. There is nothing stopping me right now from making a massive play and buying out all the temporal forces, buying out cases and cases and cases of it for this $187 mark. I could probably even get it cheaper than that, to be honest. If I did a deal with someone with distro, I could probably get it even cheaper. If I'm buying cases and cases of it, we can probably get it even cheaper than that. We can probably get it closer to that $180, $175 mark, closer to your retail. There's nothing to stop me loading up an entire container and shipping it across the sea of cases and cases and cases. And I think you're going to see more of that in the future. You're going to see more people make big moves like that. But in the meantime, it's not hard for me to sell on eBay US. I just ship it to eBay and they handle the international side of things. It's not that difficult. So be cautious buying into Temporal and Paradox Rift. EU has an endless supply of it right now for below retail price. So I just wanted to put that warning out there for you. That's why you subscribe down below, to never miss an opportunity. I always point out the plays to you, but more importantly, I always warn you about when things are overpriced. And I'm telling you, your US market is overpriced for Temporal and Paradox at the moment. Purely because on the global market, there is so much supply of it for cheaper than what your market price is. Paradox Rift. I've been quite vocal about me saying that Paradox Rift is the worst set of Scarlet and Violet. When I say that, it's not just me knocking the set and the art and stuff like that. It is the worst performing set. That is just what the data is. Last week it was at $214, $219 last sold, but you're seeing $209 there as well. It is currently the cheapest Scarlet and Violet booster box out there. If you take away that Journey Together that was $199, as far as like taking away like single sales and stuff like that, if you look at like the set as a whole, Paradox Rift is currently the cheapest set out there for a mainline set for booster boxes. So just be very cautious buying into it. Like I said, we can get it for much cheaper than your market price here in the UK. And now that I've said that as well, I have a lot of UK viewers here. Some people from this video will start buying them out and shipping them onto US eBay, because I've just pointed that play out to them. Paldean Fates. Let's talk about Paldean Fates. I love Paldean Fates. It is continuing to rise up in price as reprints look less and less likely going on. Last sale, $186 in the US. Sorry, that was last week. Now we're seeing sales of $217. That is a massive price rise up on Paldean Fates. Last sold on eBay US is $156. People are really starting to FOMO into this now. Last sale in the UK, $161. That's way over market, and someone bought that out. Look at that sale the day before, $125. I would say that $125 is market. Whoever paid $161 is just, I don't know, that was a stupid buy. Whoever bought that, you definitely overpaid on that. $125 is market. I think realistically over the next week or so, if you want to buy one from the UK, $130 is fine. Just be aware that you are buying at an all-time high and you're going to have to sit on it for a little while. But I do think it's going to perform very well going forward, purely because it's got two of my favourite cards of the Scarlet and Violet era, two of the most iconic cards. You've obviously got the Bubble Mew and the Dark Charizard. Yeah, right, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so I said market is around about 125. Someone overpaid here for 160. If we look at what you can buy it for right now, look, buy it now, 124. So that's what I'm saying. Someone overpaid on that 160. Here's one for 104. What's going on with this? Hello? I'll leave that for you guys. Okay. Oh, it's an open one. It's a job lot. Okay. Be cautious about people doing that. That's not on. But like I said, 124 is market price now, and that's gone up quite a bit over the last couple of weeks. It was like 105 a few weeks ago, and you're like, oh, okay, 20 quid price rise over like more than a month. That's not that much. And it's like, yeah, but that's like a 20% price rise. So people are starting to buy into Paldean Fates now. I really like it. That one up behind me is a PC ETB. Thank you to my friend who sold that to me. I appreciate that. I will look after him. Let's talk about the big boy then, Evolving Skies. Evolving Skies has continually been knocking on the door of $2,000. We've been tracking it over the last couple of weeks, saying it will continue to bounce up and down off of the $2,000 mark, and we're continuing to see that again this week. What's interesting though is you're seeing more sales on $2,000. Since last week, we've seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sales dead on $2,000, which is positive. That it is its price range is like tightening up, and anyone who's done any kind of stock market investing or anything like that will know that when price really starts to consolidate and really starts to get narrow on its banding. See, I know all the terms. When it starts to have a really low swing in price between highest sold to lowest sold, when it starts to get really tight like that, it's about to break out. And I've talked a lot about this $2,000 price point, and once it breaks through that, it will have an easy run up to $2,500 and beyond. And then it might even just blast through that, and will within a few months very quickly be looking at a $3,000 Evolving Skies box. I don't think that's outside the realm of possibility. I do think it will happen regardless. It just might take a little bit longer, but it does look like it's really, really about to smash down that door of $2,000. And once it does, it's going to start flying again. I really do believe it. Last sale in the US, $2,075. Like I said, guys, we're seeing multiple sales over $2,000. That is all-time high, I think. That's got to be all-time high, $2,075. If it's not, it's dead on. We maybe saw one go for like... Have we seen one go for 2,100? I can't remember. Yeah, 2,075. Crazy. What's even more crazy is the UK market. Okay, my UK people are going to be shocked at this. Okay, what's your prediction before I click on it? Where's Evolving Skies in the UK? What do you think? It was hovering at an all-time high last week at around about £1,600. Where do you think now? Go on. Have a little guess to yourself. Last sale, £2,000. That is a huge price jump here in the UK. Someone bought it now on a buy it now for £2,000. That is way beyond an all-time high. To put this into perspective, how mad this is, guys, for my US viewers, I've done a little price conversion from GBP to USD. £2,000 is currently $2,682 is what someone just paid in the UK for an Evolving Skies. Absolutely ludicrous. That is way beyond an all-time high. I think the all-time high before that was like £1,600. So, and that was last week. So 1,600 an all-time high. So that's 400 increase in price on 1,600. So in the UK, that one sale alone is a 25% price rise in the last 7 days on Evolving Skies. Evolving Skies is an absolute monster. We've called it for a long time. Everyone knows it's the goated set. It is the best set in the last 10 years. All these people that say, oh, this set is going to be the new Evolving Skies. It's not. Okay, I don't care who says that. For any set to compare to the kind of performance that Evolving Skies has had, not just is having, but has had week on week on week on week, is it's absolutely insane. It's in a class of its own. I'm very proud to still own one box of it, and I will keep that treasured in my collection. I own a lot of like sleeved and loose packs of it and stuff like that as well. So I am quite heavy into Evolving Skies still. It is it my biggest position in sets in my collection? It probably is. It probably still is my biggest position in any set. just due to the crazy price point of the booster box at the moment. Let's have a look then at Crown Zenith. Crown Zenith is my boy. Hasn't really changed in price this week, up a couple of bucks. Last week it was 179. This week we're seeing a range of sales from 175, but we're seeing one here for 188. We'll just call it a flat week on the average, but it just continues week on week on week to just continue to gain a couple of percent here and there. Crown Zenith, in my opinion, is one of the safest places to put your money if you just want some continual growth. It's very less likely to be volatile, so you're not going to see the massive run-ups in price on it, or less likely to, but you're also not going to see massive dips on it as well. Fusion Strike, pretty flat week as well, still consolidating in price after its massive run-up in price about 2 months ago. Just hovering here at around about, the 730 range, 730 to, 740 to like 750 range. Kind of just chilling at that range. I do think that it will continue to grow up in price over the next couple of years. It's just chilling at the moment. I think a lot of this is just people taking profit after the big run up in price, and when demand meets supply, it's just going to chill in price, and that's a really positive place for it to be at in the market, personally. Last sold in the US, $750, like we said, around about that 750 mark it's hovering at. I think that's a fair price for it at the moment. And in the UK, £506 its last sale. Again, chilling basically at an all-time high here in the UK. Lost Origin then, $500 mark, has just been chilling on that $500 mark. Pretty flat week for it, so we're not going to talk too much in detail about it. Last sold in the US, $555. Perhaps a few dollars more than last week, but again, just chilling in striking range of its all-time high, but just supply meeting demand at the moment. And obviously, as time goes on, I do expect supply to reduce and the price to go up. Let's have a look then at last sold in the UK. We're right on that £400 mark. For this damaged one though, a real sale of 531, 511. I do think that Lost Origin is underpriced at the moment. It's caught up here in the UK to Fusion Strike prices, but I think that both Fusion Strike and Lost Origin are underpriced here in the UK right now. I think that the US market, Lost Origin again is a little bit underpriced for 555. I think that this should be closer to the $600 range when Fusion's at that $700 range, but I think that Fusion's underpriced as well. Fusion should be closer to 800, 900, and Lost Origin should be closer to 700, in my opinion. And I do think they'll both get there. It'll just take a little bit of time, or the next run up or buyout of those products. Astral Radiance, very similar, flat week, chilling closer to its all-time high than the last two sets we just mentioned though. $373, no real change in price over the last week. Poised in a good position though, as is Silver Tempest, chilling pretty much at its all-time high at around about $340. You did see one weird or two weird buyouts here for $419, but I think that's just a little bit of I don't know, either price manipulation or just not much supply on the market when that person particularly wanted to buy. These might not even be completed sales. It just might be a little bit of manipulation. They might be buying their own product out for that kind of price. But market seems set at somewhere between about 340 to 380. A pretty flat week, but just chilling at around its all-time high. Last sold in the US, $370, which is kind of what we just called out. Last sold in the UK, £302. Now that's interesting. I personally think that that's a good buy. £302 for Silver Tempest. It's a good set. You've got the strong Lugia carry. We've seen prices of around about $312 beforehand. So 302 is a little bit of a discount, whoever paid that. And if you start comparing it to other sets as well, look at Paldea Evolved. Paldea Evolved is going for about the same price. About £300 here in the UK, 300 to 310. What would you rather have if you were in the UK? An out of print Silver Tempest box for 302, or a Paldea Evolve for 300? I do think that people are FOMOing in a little bit too much into Paldea Evolved at the moment. Don't get me wrong, it's pulling ahead. It's a good set. The Magikarp is carrying it. It's decent, which is why we bought into it and we 2x, but personally I'm selling out of it at the moment because I don't want too big of a position into it. I know a lot of people wouldn't make that same move, but that's okay. I'm just being transparent on what I'm doing. You don't have to make the same moves as me. I'm just giving you all the information and everything that I'm doing so that you can make your own decisions about it. But 302 looks like a good deal for Silver Tempest at the moment to me. Brilliant Stars has rised up a little bit up in price. Its chart is kind of broken, but we can still run the numbers. Last sold 425, 430. If we scroll down to last week, we can see it at the right on the $400 range. So it's potentially up like 25 bucks, 25, 30 bucks on 400. Let's just calculate that out. 25 on 400. About a 6% price rise on Brilliant Stars over the last week. I will continue to expect it to grow in that kind of fashion, around about 2 to 4% rises on average, week on week on week, I would imagine, unless it slows down a little bit. But I think it's just going to keep ticking away, Brilliant Stars. We're going to finish off the episode talking about something a little bit different. We like to freshen things up at the end of the episode and talk about something that we wouldn't normally talk about. And we're going to talk today about battle styles. Now, battle styles is a set that I've bullied a little bit on this channel, and some people get mad at that. Some people really like battle styles. I think battle styles really suffers from two problems. One, it was printed into the ground, and two, its chase cards are later gen Pokemon. And this is what I was talking about with Black Bolt and White Flare at the start of the episode. I think that although those Pokemon like Urshifu really resonate with some people, I think a lot of people in the hobby don't resonate with them. I personally don't resonate with Urshifu. I've got no nostalgia around him. And I think that's one of the issues with battle styles. I've always slated battle styles. If you look at my earliest videos from about a year and a half ago, I said that battle styles, even when it was available for retail on Pokemon Center UK, I said that you shouldn't buy it because I don't think that it's a great buy. And I just wanted to point out something interesting with battle styles. We're actually seeing a decline in price on battle styles after it had a bit of a run up in price a couple of months ago, up to around about the $200 range, and we're starting to see it slowly dip down in price again. Battle styles has been out for a very, very long time now. They are definitely not reprinting more of it, and it's a very good example on how not everything goes up in value with time. Okay, yes, it has gone up in value in the respect of you could buy it for retail for what in the US, like 160, 170, something like that. So if you'd have bought that back then on release for retail, you've profited over the last few years. We're talking about multiple years. What, 4.5 years it's been out now? You would have profited. What's the last sale? 202. So you would have profited 30 bucks if you're lucky, if you bought it for retail in 4.5 years. What is that percentage actually? Let's just work it out. 30 on like what, 170 or so. 17% price rise in what, 4.5 years? Not great compared to some of the other sets, especially when Evolving Skies just jumped up 25% this week in the last 7 days. I just thought it was interesting to point that out to you, and to point out to you as well that battle styles at 202 currently makes it cheaper than any single Scarlet and Violet booster box. I just thought that was a very interesting comparison to make. Even what I think is the worst Scarlet and Violet booster box, which is Paradox Rift, is currently going for 210. For 5% less than that, you can pick up an out of print battle styles. Maybe that's a play that some of you guys want to make. I mean, it's pretty cheap at the moment. Personally, I still wouldn't buy into battle styles because I don't like it. But I'll always point out plays to you. That's why you subscribe down below to never miss an opportunity. You can make your decisions on whether you want to buy into it or not. Let's have a look at eBay. Look, last sold $210. $208. There's a lot of them for sale on here. 219. Look at this. 195 someone paid on the 17th. So 2 days ago, someone got one for sub 200. Cheap, cheap, cheap. Been out there a long time. Last sale in the UK, £193. Personally, I wouldn't even buy it at that price. I'd rather buy into something else. But it is extremely cheap for an out-of-print Sword and Shield set. Look at this. Release date, March 19th, 2021. Yeah, Battle Styles. I've got nothing more to say on that, really. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Like I said, please do subscribe down below to never miss an opportunity. Please, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you put the thumbs up. It really helps me out. It doesn't cost you anything. And if you got anything from this video, please put the thumbs up. It really, really does help. Yeah, hope you all have a wonderful day. Peace.